and continue to dog us. Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Niresh Eliathambi. Now, to discuss this, we have with us this evening an expert in the area of prices, production and prices, and that is none other than Mr. Janaka Ratnayake, former chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka and a very well-known public figure indeed. Welcome, Janaka.
Thank you, Niresh.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we had you on the program, but with all these issues swirling around prices, prices of electricity, prices of fuel, and all that, I think your expertise is required, at least to educate the public.
Yes.
So, what is going on? Let's start with this coconut scenario. Now the prices of coconuts shot through the roof.
Yes.
What's going on and what's the solution? Because we have so many people saying so many things about it.
Now, if you look at Niresh, yesterday the issue was, and I think in all the print media, the front was dedicated for coconut. And today we see red rice. We do not know what will come tomorrow. Now, what happens is, these essential things, now I always talk about Maslow's the hierarchy of needs. Now, we are talking about food, shelter, clothing and security at the bottom level. And we are looking at, maybe, another 5-6 levels. But here in Sri Lanka, for last maybe a couple of years, we just hang around at the basic level, at the entry level of this pyramid. Why? Because now see, as you rightly mentioned, the basic things. Now see, what is our staple food? Is rice. Now see, accessibility to rice, not people like us, but by the common people, has become a very difficult task. Now you see, yesterday, today, akurassa ratuhal polymer. Now see, it's pathetic to see the people waste hours and hours of their productive time to be in queues to buy few kilos of rice. That is for their basic needs. Now people in queues to buy coconut. Now we have seen rice queues in, I think, way back in 70s, where we did not have enough.
Well, that was a production problem back in the 70s.
Now what is it now? Isn't it the same production problem after 60 years that we are talking about? You think it's a problem of any other nature? If you have enough, why do we import? Now we say that we have sufficient stocks, or we cultivate sufficient stock of rice every year. But what happens is, when people want to buy, for some reasons, the products are not available.
But let's take it one step at a time here. The production. How do we know? How does the government keep track of the amount which is produced, not just in rice, but whether it's vegetables or whatever? Now, in most countries, agriculture ministries, agriculture departments keep track of these things, and it's easy to keep track of. You know how many acres are being cultivated, and the yield per acre. It's not suddenly going to go up and down, right? Unless you introduce some new variety or something like that, it will remain fairly constant. And then, of course, if you get floods or droughts or something, that also
yield,
that can be easily calculated, because the farmers come to the government through the agriculture officers and say, we want compensation. So then so many fields have been wiped out by floods, so many acres. So I think this is a sort of O-level mathematics question, isn't it?
That is, I think, below basic.
Exactly.
Now you see, if you think that the government is talking about this data, I think data is completely wrong. Now it's like this, like I will get a very simple
but
example.
How do you get this data wrong?
No, I will just come out with a simple calculation. Now see, the last years, according to the government, the income from tourism is about 3 billion. Do you know how they calculate this? They will see how many tourists have come. They will multiply that by $150 per person into number of days. And they say our income is more than 3 billion US dollars. But the government should know how much these individuals will spend. They say, for example, since I am into tourism industry, we know that if you get a parents with two children below, say, 12 years, and they will spend not more than $100 all 4 per day. But the calculation would say 4 into 150 is $600. So based on that, they will say end of the year that we have reached 3.5 billion. This is where the problem is. Now you see, we say depending on the acreage that we have, maybe on some document they say, therefore we get X amount of production of paddy. But which is not true. Now you see, many farmers in this country are small timers. Say they have less than maybe 1 acre paddy field. But I don't think most of them are not selling the yield. They will consume their production. And the figures that we talk about it in numbers by census and maybe central bank or maybe by the these officers, agriculture officers, are completely wrong.
So that's
therefore only that we have this issue. We do not have proper data. Now see, if you have proper data only, that you can analyze something. Without proper data, when I am going to analyze it, you have this problem. And we do not know the stock that we have at the moment.
But Janaka, we have agriculture development officers in every village. Every Grama Dildari division has one.
Yes.
They're usually in the same building.
Yes.
So how is this possible that they don't even know, how much paddy is being...
Say for example, I have a paddy field. I have paddy field in Maharagam area, very close to, the town, maybe not even half a kilometer. I have 2 acre paddy field. And my production per season is around, say, 2,000 kilos. I never sell this. And I consume or give it to, distribute among poor people.
Right, but...
Now see, for example, nobody has come to my paddy field, an officer, and asked what is the type of rice that I am going to cultivate next season and what is the yield. Then how can these officers, collect this data?
Janaka, these are very simple things.
Simple things.
Because
I am bringing a simple examples using my business and the area of expertise, and to see that government is acting on this hypothetical data where they are not correct. Therefore, that you make wrong decisions, and we face the shortages on and off. And this is not going to end. That's why we say that if you look at this time, the new President Trump's inauguration speech, I was very keen. I watched from first word to the last, and he mentioned 2 things specifically. He was talking about unlike us, rocket science, they are going to probably inhabit the Mars maybe in time to come. But he said one thing twice. That is, he was talking about common sense only. And if you look at the speech of the press secretary, the youngest press secretary of White House, she said, common sense is what matters the most. Here what happens is, we talk about a lot of theories, and we have seen, many politicians talk without any sense. They should use common sense. When you have common sense, you can take decisions. When you use common sense only, that you can get the right people at the right place, you get the right decisions based on data. When you do not have common sense.
Yes, but how does the Agriculture Department and the Ministry tolerate this situation where agriculture development officers are not feeding the correct information? If they haven't come to your paddy field, they haven't done their job.
No,
they're sitting in their office without getting out there and talking to you and asking you, what are you doing? What type of rice, and whether you're going to sell it, or if you're going to sell half of it, all that. And they should also be talking to the mill owners to corroborate this as well.
Yeah.
Then you have it's just
the sufficient data
it's an Excel sheet. isn't it?
proper decisions.
Yes.
Now, when the basic things are lacking, now you are talking about Maslow's the theory, the bottom. We are talking about basic data. Now you see, we do not know what is the coconut yield that we have. Now, according to the news media, we talk about, now we say, since we haven't
Now, before we get into coconuts,
still right.
How does the central bank, which puts out all these wonderful indicators, which I mean the central bank
Yes,
and
census
the
department,
census department, they are interrelated. They tell us in their annual reports and quarterly reports and all that how much paddy has been cultivated. They tell us, and I mean every industry they tell us the production, whether it is services or apparel or whatever it is. So if they are feeding wrong data, and the central bank itself is not going out to the paddy field, so
rather than the wrong data, I think these officers assume things. They assume things for me. They based on assumptions. Now they see maybe 10 acres complete land there. They will see this is the yield that they get. They don't interact with the farmers or the the landowners. They just assume things and feed wrong information. So then the decisions based on wrong information make this type of situations, and it's embarrassing to everyone. Not only embarrassing, now see, when the people have to be there on queues to buy coconut and the rice, and their productive time is being lost.
So now this is actually a human resources problem, isn't it? Because the agriculture officers are not being monitored, not doing their job. I mean, I live next to a paddy field. I have never seen one of these officers anywhere close to a paddy field. So what's going on? They do come for ceremonial
That's why I said that, very important that these politicians, although they have or they do not have political experience, this is based on common sense. If you use common sense, gathering information and taking decisions on this information, it would be very easy. Then probably when you are using common sense, then like any other thing, you can get the right people, you get the right data. Based on right data and right things, that you make right decisions. Now see, now we started importing salt. Now the salt is very basic ingredient in our food. Now if we were self-sufficient for last maybe 20 years in this country. Now what has happened? We import even that. Now what has happened to us? What has happened to us? Now see, 76 years of bad governance must be ended. And the new government should know, without probably repeating the mistakes that they did, they should do things different. But what we can see is that they do not do things different. They just let the same system to prevail. So you need to take decisions. Now see, if you look at the, I will just bring again electricity tariff revision.
Yes.
Which happened almost 2 weeks back.
And electricity is a political hot potato. It's a football. It's kicked this way, that way. In other countries,
but what happened?
In other countries, electricity is just a normal thing. It's just something which is taken for granted.
Yeah.
Once in a way, you read in the United States, a hurricane comes and a million people are out of electricity for a week. That's about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the big deal? Electricity was invented a couple of 100 years ago.
Yes. I think electricity made huge changes in our country, and even in sometime back in UK as well, because we had lengthy power cuts up to 13 hours.
Yes.
It can change the entire political arena, and it happened here also. And see how beautifully it happened. Without any political interference, without any influence of anybody, make this independent commission based on proper data. Now see, we talk about data. Now in paddy, coconut and all the other things, we talk about data. Now here, based on proper data, they made a proper decision. That's why electricity tariff went down. Now see, if the politicians, whoever the other officials had any control over that, you think that it will come down? No. Therefore, I feel that now see, even in agriculture, do you have a proper commission to monitor this or regulate this?
So that's
This
what
is
the
where the
agriculture
problem is.
department is supposed to do. But there
Yes.
is no commission.
No, I think you need to have independent commissions, independent people without influenced by any politicians. Then these officers will take proper decisions. Now, I think the importance of this government to understand how important these independent institutions and the people who are selected to these positions. They should be educated, not only education, they should have common sense, they should know, they should have exposure into this the industries and the field, then they can take a proper decision. When everything is influenced by the others only, the people have to go through this mess over and over again. Now people have realized it, politicians should have realized this by now, and they should act accordingly. And to make sure that we need to have these basic things. Now see, how can you develop a country, how can you look at 84 billion GDP country to go surpass 100 billion or maybe go for 200 billion, because you need to have people to work for it. The government can't do this. Now who is cultivating? Who's doing my construction? The people are doing it. So they should be fed properly. Now see, if the people have to be on queues to buy salt, coconut, and you name anything, see the prices of coconut oil. So everything is beyond anybody's control. So what must be done is for people to realize this by this things are happening in the society and the economy today, and not to make wrong decisions. Gather the right information and see how many acres of coconut is being cultivated. How many acres of paddy fields are cultivated, of which kind, whether it is, samba or nadu or red rice or white rice or whatever it is, and how many are imported. Based on that, you take a proper decision. But it's a basic right of people and the basic responsibility of the government to make sure that basic things reasonable for people to live first. With a starving nation, you can never talk about development. In which world that it happens?
So your answer to the rice problem is that we need proper data.
Yes.
And then the evaluation of that proper data will lead to obviously planning for imports if required, before the shortage happens, not after it happens.
Just let me interrupt you. Now see, we are looking at getting the harvest now of paddy.
Yes.
And do you know how many varieties that we have cultivated and what is our production? Samba, nadu, or red rice or white rice. At least do a calculation now, because paddy fields are there. At least these officers can immediately do something and say that we are not having enough red rice for next 3 months. Then government should take a proper decision to import and provide that. And they may say that sometime back nadu was not there. Nowadays the production would not be enough. And again I say, you should not wait until the farmers take a decision what to cultivate. You should give guidance of crop management to the farmers what to cultivate.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we have this scenario which happens almost every year, where something is short, there's a shortage, and then the price goes sky high, and then the farmers think, oh wow, we'll cultivate this in the next season.
It happened to me also, because I said
massive glut.
Yes.
And then people are throwing away that produce.
Same thing happened to me some time back. I'm also into cultivation, paddy and other vegetables. So one time, now see, at this moment, how much is green chili? 1,200 rupees. Now what is the next decision that people without common sense will take? Farmers think green chilies at the moment is 1,200. I did it some time back. It went up to 2,000. I cultivated green chili. When the harvest is coming, everybody has cultivated. You can't sell it even for 200. So then proper guidance should come from these officers on a scientific basis by the experts, and they will say this area is good for red rice, this area is good for samba, this area is good for nadu, or whatever it is. So they demarcate and analyze and influence the farmers, and the government should guarantee that if you have this type of cultivations that you will buy this produce. Now, still government is unable to release a price of purchasing paddy in this season. So they are not in a position to make a decision because either they lack common sense or
but this is not something that the president has to decide or even the minister.
No.
It is something which should be scientifically arrived at.
Like the way that the tariff was electric tariff decided based on data, this should be based on data.
I mean,
then the decision will come and farmers will go through 1 or 2 seasons and they will say this is the right thing. So they will tend to even get the opinion of the government when they pass 2-3 seasons. But we have passed hundreds of years. And the problem is farmers do not trust the government. Government does not look after the farmer. So they work independently of their own opinion and we are getting into this mess.
And also now if you take a private sector example, let's say a company which is manufacturing toothpaste, it is not the chairman of the board who decides on the price of the toothpaste tube. It is the marketing,
depending on the demand and supply and competition.
Exactly. Yes. And your cost of production.
Yes. So everything matters. Now, that's why the free economic conditions, which is the price should be decided on demand and supply, and the government should facilitate to do this. Otherwise, only the prices like of coconut is surpassing 200 because the supply is too much, demand is less. It has to be managed properly. Then only the product and service, especially the essential things, will come to the people at the right price for them to live.
Well, this is a very interesting conversation, Janaka, but I'm afraid we have to take a short commercial break right now. We are in conversation with Mr. Janaka Ratnayake. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Our development era kickstarts from 2002-2005. If you're off duty, right, you're entitled to do what you want. And Niresh, whether it's pluck coconuts or whether it's scraping the coconuts, they have the freedom to do that.
By having taxes on imports for the food on the poorest of the poor is a big problem.
I think economic inclusion of the rural people is very important to keep the economy going.
Government and state are two things. So time to time we need restructuring. We can't go on. That is the main reason why NPP won.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
ජාතික මෙහෙවරින් අපි කතා බහ කරන්නේ පුරුෂ පාර්ශවයට කාන්තා පාර්ශවයට වෙනසක් නැතුව ආයුර්වේදයට අනුව ලස්සන වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා.
හොඳම මොයිස්චරයිස් එක තමයි කොමඩු.
යම්කිසි වයස් මට්ටම් වලට පැමිණෙනකොට ඇතිවෙන බෝන් නොවන රෝග තත්ත්වයන් තුලදී කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ඇස ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නේ?
බහුලවම අන්ධභාවයට පත්වන රෝගී තත්ත්ව ගත්තොත් ඇත්තටම ලෝකේ ලංකාවේ දෙකම නම්බර් 1 ඇත්තටම තියෙන සුද ඇහි සුද.
නිරාමිෂ සිතුවිලි වලින් තමයි පිබිදෙන්නේ. ඒනට ප්‍රශ්නේ ටික වෙලාවක් යනකොට වෙනස් පැත්තකට යන්න පුළුවන්.
මූලික අරමුණ සියදිවි හානි වැළැක්වීම වුණාට ඕනම කෙනෙකුට ඕනම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඕනම ගැටලුවක් ගැන කතා කරන්න අපිත් එක්ක යොමු වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are with Mr. Janaka Ratnayake, former chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. Janaka, now we spoke about rice.
Yes.
And the solution to it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's hope that the powers that be were watching and that they'll take some advice, some common sense advice. Right. Salt. Now, we are an island. There's salt water all around. It is a matter of the production.
Yeah.
And we do have the salt, production facilities.
Yes.
We have it in Putlam, in Hambantota, in various parts of the country. But salt production, it's not simply a matter of getting the salt water out of the sea, and it is a process.
It's a process
where impurities have to be taken out of that
It's
one,
a
one
basic
by one.
process.
Yeah.
I think it's not again
it's not rocket
science. It's not rocket science.
I mean, it's something which has been done for thousands of years, but it has been refined. Now, the only issue, of course, is the weather. If you don't get enough sunshine, then the rate of evaporation of the water component out of the salt water is less. So then it can take longer. But then we don't suddenly have 100% cloud cover, without knowing that it's coming. We know from the Met Department records that, in this month, in January, this area of the country will have so much cloud cover and so much rain as well, because rain is the other issue, because it adds more water, and if you get floods, then that totally messes up that whole production cycle. But again, in Sri Lanka, generally, yes, the weather patterns have changed, but generally we know we have the two monsoons, northeast monsoon, southwest monsoon, and we have the inter-monsoon, which is heaviest during November, but we also have a smaller one early in the year. So we know these things. These are basic schoolboy stuff, right? So we should be able to cater to this. And once in a way, of course, you do get a cyclone coming, which messes things up. But again, we should have enough production capacity to deal with all of this.
No, it is again the basic management that we are lacking. Now, say weather patterns, you can't, confine that to 6 years. Now, weather has been there for millions and billions of years of,
And weather is something which affects the whole world.
The entire world. But now, say when it comes to the production of salt, now I also have a little story about salt industry, because when I was the chairman of Merchant Bank, a friend of mine had a salt company where I helped him to get into public. That company is doing good. I didn't want to, one of the leaders in manufacturing salt in Sri Lanka. So that's the history that I have. What happens is, again, now we have issues with salt, we have issues with paddy, we have issues with vegetables. Why? Because no proper storage system is there in place. No proper transportation system is not there. No proper data is there. Therefore, we do not produce what we want. And we do not know exactly the amount of the metric tons that we need of each and every product.
But Janaka, we are a nation which produces the basics. We are not
talking about
because
it's basic. We are talking about we are talking about staple food. We are talking about coconut.
Yes.
Now salt.
Yeah, but this is our bread and butter, because we are not producing rockets to the moon or supercomputers or something like that, which some countries do. So of course, in those countries, they focus on the data for those industries. But these are our major industries.
But again, now see, we are talking about three products. We are talking about paddy. We were self-sufficient in paddy. We were talking about coconut, self-sufficient. We were talking about salt, self-sufficient. Now, do we have this problem with flour? No. We do have problem with anything we import? No, because it is available elsewhere. But they manage, we import. The things that what is wrong with us now, we cannot even produce what we are, what we had, what we were sufficient enough. And again, if you look at our population, it's not growing heavily, unlike the other part of the world.
No, it's growing quite slowly, actually.
Very slowly.
We have a huge problem of aging population.
Aging population, migrating population, and stagnating at maybe 22, 21, because people have gone abroad.
Left, yes.
Now see, we are talking about a fixed amount of population, but essential things are not produced properly.
Now, to add to that, Janaka, during the war, the north and east was, the cultivation in the north was almost zero. In the east, I think Ampara district was cultivating, but a lot of the Batiklo district and the Trincomalee district couldn't be cultivated because of hostilities. and about 20% of the paddy production, the farmlands couldn't be produced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or otherwise they could not probably transport to the other areas.
So during the war, we didn't have a shortage. So we should...
Not only during the war. Now we had a very tough time when we had this forex problem 2-3 years back. We never had, the fuel what we want, gas what we want. But during even this, as you rightly said, during the war, during any financial crisis or any situation, we had our basic things intact. Now, since then, we have improved our reserves up to around $6.5 billion US. We were almost minus at one point. Now everything is smooth, changing, but we are talking about basic things are missing. How it could happen? Now say when you do not have forex, you can say that we are messed up, we have no way to manage. Now we are improving our forex, we are improving our exports, we are improving our conditions without basic things. So politicians of every level should consider this, and their prime objective should be to feed people. You find a way using common sense and data and the right mechanism to make sure that you give the basic first. Say for example, now say we imported I think 75,000 metric tons of rice. And the allegation is that government made 12 billion rupees. From whom? By those taxes. From the common people. Now they boast of customs revenue and IRD revenues, saying that we have reached 1.5 trillion, excise duty of maybe 200 billion, and the profits of CB 277 billion.
Yeah, but
office of CPC is 100 billion. Whose money is this?
So
this is the public money which pays. Now on top of that, I think now we are looking at 84 billion worth of a GDP and economy. We have at least another 50% of GDP which is not recorded. That's why in any crisis, now see, we had an issue of importing fuel in 2022. That is the year that we have imported more fuel than any other year in this country. It was not basically managed. We imported more fuel in that year alone than this now. But we had a scarcity. Now what happens is, when we do not take proper decisions, now see, if you digitalize our economy, now see how many products and services that you get in casual places. You go to a restaurant and you eat 1,000 rupees means you are paying 300 rupees taxes to that particular restaurant. Do you think that that 300 rupees that they earn, these vendors will pay the government as taxes?
They're charging the consumer. But
they are charging the consumer, but it doesn't go to the coppers.
Yes.
Now see, you buy anything from Singapore for anything from any shop. Shop is connected to the revenue department, so money will just transfer
and there
there.
is a VAT registration number.
Not only number, it's the online transaction. The vendor will get 700, 300 will go to coppers. Now what happens here is, the people like us, people like your organization will pay taxes. Most of the so-called professionals, lawyers, doctors, I will just name them. And do they pay taxes on their revenues? And the small vendors, or maybe the small shops. Now you see, you go to this the famous shopping malls like say Gold Face 1 or Lucky Plaza or Majestic City or any other place. You do transactions. Will they pay taxes? They won't pay taxes. And it's very easy to get them into the net or maybe digitalize. You can just easily do this. When I do a transaction, when I sell an apartment, say for 100 million, my VAT portion will be directly debited to the coppers. That's why I say that although it is mentioned about 80 billion of our GDP, we have another 50% more in our grey economy. That's why whatever happens that we have become resilient. Now say people buy, if you look at the papers, you look at papers now, people are marketing, they are trying to promote different brands of vehicles because vehicles imports are liberalized now. Do you know the price? Some vehicles are more than 200 million rupees. Where you can buy the same vehicle for 25 million elsewhere in the world. The basic car is more than 20 million. And yesterday I was surprised to see prices are ranging from 30 million to 230 million. And people buy. Now I sell apartments, 100 million plus. People buy. But we talk about a developing economy or maybe bankrupt economy. We have all the minus things that we talk about. But everything is taking place. Therefore only the things that we discuss, data must be collected properly. It's like arrival of tourism industry, number of guests into 150, 3.5 billion. They say how many hectares of paddy fields into say yield of 1 acre, into that they will say.
But again, Janaka, this all requires common sense.
Common sense.
For example, let's take tourist arrivals. Right. What are they? How do they record it? It's foreign passports, isn't it? The passports which are swiped at immigration.
Immigration. They will say, we get around 10,000 tourists per day.
Yes, but
10,000 tourists per day into $150. They will say this is the tourism income today. They come to my hotel, 4 people, spend $100, whereas they have taken the revenue as 600, and they report. And our data and our income is based on that.
Yeah, but
that is where the problem is.
Yeah. Also, Janaka, now there are hundreds of thousands of Sri Lankans who have foreign passports. They have migrated. They are now citizens
I think
of
there's
another.
a way to immigration department to map that is there. Now see, my issue is not that. Not the Sri Lankans, the diaspora that come into Sri Lanka. We are looking at maybe not the even transit passengers. We are looking at maybe the real foreigners who come for different purposes, leisure, pleasure, or business or whatever it is. The way that they calculate is wrong. So then the decisions that they take on this wrong data will lead to situations like this. Then we suddenly find that although now see the export data, we say this year, I think that last year was the best, $16.7 billion. It is properly recorded through banking transactions.
Right.
So that is captured. But when you say that you are getting 4 tourists in a family, that they spend a day $600, 150 into 4, which is completely wrong. And whom you are trying to cheat or deceive, get the right information, take the decisions, and improve the industry. Now see, for example, our president went to India and China. Bilateral discussions with the head of states. But I don't think that the president requested these 2 leaders, except maybe the loans and the other things. Should I said that China producing the largest number of tourists in the world, 90 million people are traveling in and out. India is producing almost 40 million people in and out. Our leaders should have requested not favors, not loans, not any support. Would I said that, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, send me 2.5 million people as a gesture of goodwill to our country. And end of the day, we are talking about 5 million people coming from India and China. Then do any calculation of 150 and calculate and see how many. We are making $15 billion. That's why you need common sense. Your leader should have common sense. Not to talk rubbish in the bilateral discussions to say that, Mr. President, you produce 90 million tourists all over the world. We have a mutual good understanding and business. Your investment is in Sri Lanka more than 5-6 billion. But we are getting only 150,000 people per year. You produce 90 million. Support us sending your people to visit our country. India is the closest neighbor. You say, you produce 40,000 tourists a year. I don't need the credit line. Send me 2 point. Now say they send the largest number, maybe around 1 million people. Triple it, 3 million. So we talk of the number, we talk about the 5 million people. Do the infrastructure, it will benefit everybody in this country. So we need to use this common sense to influence, because for them to send tourists, only maybe their directions only. And then you say that you find maybe the mode of transportation, you develop the infrastructure here in Sri Lanka. End of the year you say, not only 2.5 million, we have exceeded 5 million tourists. Then you talk business, immediate business. But when you get a tourist, it's straight money, not like coconut that you have to wait 8 years to plant and pluck.
Absolutely.
Yes,
now,
those are the things, the common sense that people, the leaders should use and exploit when they get an opportunity.
Unfortunately, no one can buy common sense. It's experience which counts towards building common sense. Now, we are almost out of time, so I want to pick your brain on something that's that we hear from the utilities, especially the CEB and the CPC, which is that they have accumulated so much losses in past years, and therefore that they have to sort of recoup that, and so they can't bring down the prices. What is the theory behind this, and how long are we going to hear this nonsense?
No, I think when it comes to utilities, the electricity tariff is reasonable now.
Yes.
We know that from the
but it is
illegal increase during my time, without my consent and, like impeaching me at the parliament, they have made 277 billion net profit for last 2 years.
Right.
And you look at the bottom line of CPC, they have made more than 200 billion for the same corresponding period.
That's our money.
Our money. But if you look at the prices of now electricity, nobody can complain. I don't think anybody should complain. And again, we are blessed with, enough rains. Maybe if we are looking at dry weather in March and April, I don't think that anybody will have a problem now. So we have enough water for generation of hydro. Now you see the problem. CPC has made huge amount of money. Now they have privatized, they have said that they are restructuring, but they have privatized only sheds and giving the money that was part of profit of CPC now they are outsiders. And again, the prices of diesel, petrol and kerosene can be reduced. I think I told this even at the COP when I was a chairman at UCSL. They can further reduce it because they make exorbitant profits, plus government is collecting huge amount of money. I think almost 100 rupees per litre from each litre that we sell. And they tax not only from their taxes, but they make profit also. So benefits should go to the consumers like electricity. Now say when electricity price goes down by almost 20%, water prices should come down. Water bills should be reduced.
Right.
Because these two are interconnected, because in Sri Lanka, many pump stations are based on the consumption of electricity, usage of electricity. When it goes down, it should go down, because you can remember when it went up, both went up.
Yes.
When it comes down, only one come down.
Common sense doesn't seem to apply there.
No. These are the basic theories that they should.
Yes.
Now see, I saw interesting message today. Inflation is not there. We are talking about deflation now. The reason is that the main reason that they have cited is that electricity tariff has come down. Therefore, inflation situations have come down. So we have to wait another further 6 or 7 months to inflation to catch up to 5. Now they are calculating inflations based on the last previous years, basically 2015. But if you look at the inflation year on year, last 2 years, it went up, it surpassed 100.
Absolutely.
Now we are comparing the top notch, and we're talking about deflation. The deflation situation is not good to the economy. Inflation must be there, but in order to have inflation, you can't increase the price.
Yes.
Because it will burn. Now say people can't live. People do not have 3 meals per day. If you think that, to get the inflationary method and the growth, if you are just going to, add the things to increase inflation, people will be further burdened.
So a lot of food for thought indeed.
I think a lot of things that they need to talk. They need to talk with technocrats. They need to use probably common sense. They need to talk about real data. And when you do everything, as I told you, request, not loans, don't beg. Without begging, you should be able to harness and get the best for this country.
Absolutely. And I'm afraid we are out of time, unfortunately. My thanks to my guest tonight, Mr. Janaka Ratnayake,
Thank you very much.
Former chairman of the PUCSL. And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a good evening.